Hey everyone, welcome to this second pre-conference webinar. Today we're having some interesting insights and also concepts that Petros is going to share with us. But before that, I wanted to give you some context on why we're doing this. A conference is happening as well. So let me get started. For the ones who are maybe not aware of that, we're going to have a conference, Selenium and Appium conference is happening in less than 65 days, I think it is, on March 26 to 28 in Valencia, in Spain, the south of Spain. There is a very nice venue by the Mediterranean Ocean. So we're very happy to share with you all that we're having this conference soon, and we're looking forward to have you. We have a great agenda, a great speaker lineup, and we have different conference topics. So usually people think about the Selenium and the Appium conference only about testing topics or using Selenium and Appium just for testing. But in this one, we are broadening the set of topics we're covering. So we're thinking about also AI. We're also covering video game automation, and we're also covering things like observability and synthetic monitoring. So there are different topics that are interesting. One of them is obviously accessibility. That is a big topic in 2025 in the European Union. So we have a diverse set of topics, plus a few really good keynotes for you all. But this wouldn't be possible without this group of people, the folks who help us to review the over 200 submissions we had. So all of them were spending some time checking every single proposal, and we were able to, craft this program. And one of the sad parts of the whole process is that there were many good talks that were left out, and that's why we're doing these webinars. Having said that, we have our agenda live. So if you go to seleniumconf.com/agenda, you will find all speakers there, all the different workshops, different sessions that we're going to have. We have great people like Angie Jones. We have people from Spain who are giving a keynote as well, like Almudena Vivanco, very well known in the performance testing world, which is aligned with the topic we're going to talk today. So please check it out, and it's really interesting and really a complete set of wide topics and interesting speakers from all over the world. We're registering, we have our registration process open for a while. Right now we're on the regular sales phase at 349 euros, the conference only, but if you're interested in a workshop, it's priced at 649 euros. If you're attending this webinar, there is, or the recording, there is a discount code, which is pre-conf webinar. If you use it, you will get a 10% discount. So head up to seleniumconf.com/register and have a look at the different options we have there for you. Today, we have one of the persons who spent most of the time sharing knowledge and working with the community. Petros is one of the folks who has crafted a huge community in Athens, in Greece. One of the best meetups that we have in Europe is the Ministry of Testing in Athens. I've been there once, and it's an incredible environment. And thanks to the work that Petros is doing, many more people are learning, getting interested about testing, and he's one of the community leads over there. And he has very interesting topics that he usually shares for free. He does like webinars or workshops online. So make sure to follow him on LinkedIn or whatever social media you use, because he's sharing content often. So let me bring you to the stage. Hi, Petros. How are you?
Hello, everyone. Hello. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to talk to Selenium conference webinar. Thank you a lot for the kind words, Diego. It's very important to hear this from you.
Yeah, I think we're just happy to have you here, and we're also grateful because you are bringing speakers from all over the world to Athens to share knowledge with the rest of the community. And this is kind of a way to say thank you, like inviting you to a webinar. Uh, as I said 1 week ago, you had a very good proposal, very strong one, but unfortunately, yeah, we cannot have every single good proposal in person. So that's why we're trying to give this space to speakers, to people in the community who have really good insights and very good ideas to share. And that's the purpose of having you today here.
And I would like
So
to
if you want
say,
to, go ahead.
a public thanks to and public bravo to the Greek testing scene, because a lot of folks it's going to be the Selenium conference this year. So I think the Greek testing scene goes very well. So bravo to everyone from me, and I think we have built a very nice community here. And thank you that you came in our meetup 1 year ago. Thank you a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean that was a great experience, and absolutely we are having 2 talk sessions from people that are coming from Greece. Actually, they grew in the community that Petros started, so they're going to share very interesting topics as well. So whenever you want, Petros, you can already share your screen, and we can get started.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen.
And I'm going to let you take the stage for you. And again, thank you for being here. So folks, for the ones who are watching live, if you have any questions, please feel free to write it as a comment, or like either if you're in LinkedIn or in YouTube, write your question there. And at the end of Petros' presentation, I will read it and we will discuss it and we will talk about it. Thank you, Petros. Thank you for being here. And let me share your screen. There you go. Thank you and have a good time.
Thank you a lot. Thank you. So hello everyone. I think that you want to watch my presentation because of a specific word in the title, and the word is performance. I'm Petros Plakogiannis. I have 15 years experience over testing. I am a test team leader and test automation engineer at Trasis Greece. Trasis is a Belgium company, belongs to NRB Group, but we have office here in Greece. And okay, as you know, I'm a software tester. And as a tester, performance testing wasn't my favorite thing. Because in companies, either don't know how to do performance testing or don't have time to do performance testing. So usually in companies, there are 2 separate teams, one performance engineers, one the QA or the sets, etc. What if I tell you that you can add a layer of performance testing during your functional checks, your functional tests? So some years ago, I attended the Selenium conference in Berlin, and one of the talk there was about performance by Marcel Werkel. Marcel is the lead engineer at GoDaddy. If you don't know, GoDaddy is one of the biggest web hosting companies in the world. I think the headquarters are in Arizona, in USA. So GoDaddy implemented the Timings API. I found it very interesting. I collaborated with them. I became a committer. I created a lot of tickets. I changed a little bit the Java client. And today, I want to give you an introduction about this API that is used by Selenium. I'm going to give you some steps how you can install it and how you can use it. Of course, a big concept, but for the first steps, it's a good presentation. while you are reading the golden performance rule from Steve Saunders, that was the head engineer at Google, I have to tell you that when we talk about performance, our minds go towards load and stress testing. But load and stress testing is about the backend and the capacity of backend and what it can do under a specific load. But testers test mainly the GUI. Testers test the UI, the user interface. Is something there that we can use? And if yes, what and how? I don't know how many of you are familiar with the W3C Performance API. As you might know, Selenium WebDriver is a W3C protocol, but the other protocols, of course, like the W3C Performance API. Every major browser out there has a built-in API that stores timestamps for all these events that you can see on your screen. From left to right is a full page load. For example, everything started with the DNS. You have to do DNS lookup. Then you have to do TCP connection to the web server. If it's needed SSL handshake, you have to do SSL handshake. There that says request, the browser sends the request to server gets the request and sends back the data with a response. So we have metrics for all these events. When you have timestamps for all these events, you can calculate something that's called page load time. But other things too, like the service time to first byte, that's a very interesting metric to look at because it's going to say something about your server. I'm going to tell it one more time. All these metrics are into your browser already. Just go to a browser, navigate to your favorite site, for example, the Ministry of Testing, open console. Okay, for example, top complete, redirect start, response send, response start. Timex API is a Node-Express-based API that uses Elasticsearch and Kibana to store and visualize data. And the idea behind this API is to add a layer of performance checks during your functional tests, during your end-to-end. How it works. Okay. On the left is your Selenium scripts. And on the right is the API. There are two requests from your script to the API. With the first request, you grab a snippet of JavaScript code. And then you decoded the JavaScript code and you inject it into your WebDriver object. While your Selenium tests are running, while WebDriver is running, you capture performance metrics from W3C Performance API. You send them back to the API, and the response, it's going to have some metrics, but also it's going to have an assertion, a Boolean field that indicates whether your page load time is above a historical baseline or an SLA, or is it below this historical baseline and SLA. At this point, I have to say that one of the main features of the API is to generate a historical baseline from the page load times. The historical baseline is not calculated by the average of the page load times, but it uses percentiles. Without going into statistical details, percentile is one of the main methodologies in the application performance management. So we capture all the data, we store them into Elasticsearch, and visualize them in Kibana. To be more precise, the API will determine the measure value. Okay, you can measure either page load time or visual complete time. It's going to calculate the baseline, as I told you, the historical baseline. I have a configuration file here to understand how the baseline is calculated. For example, here we say, get the 55th percentile of the page load times of the last 7 days. Also, use some filters, for example, browser environment target. Let's say for browser is Chrome and environment target is production. So those values will be used as filters in the baseline query. And you have some padding that you use as the safety margin or buffer when calculating the performance metrics. It's a practical safeguard against performance fluctuations. So with this way, the historical baseline is calculated. Determine the threshold. So take the lower either of baseline or an SLA, a service level agreement. Set the assert field. False if the measured value is higher than the threshold. True if the measured value is within the threshold. And then send back the response message that includes the assertion field. As I told you, the measured value can be either visual complete time or page load time. Usually we recommend the page load time because it's the full page load. For example, if you have a web page with heavy analytics scripts and ad trackers, the visual complete time is the visible content, for example, the header, the images, the main text, etc. And the page load time is all the background scripts, the tracking pixels, etc. So the page load time is the full page, all the resources of the page. I don't know how you sound all these things. Maybe it sounds complicated. So to simplify the communication with API, to help you on your way from the client side, from Selenium scripts, some clients have been implemented. A JavaScript client that you can install it in your package.json with a npm install, like node module, a Python client, and a Java client. I have gotten involved a little bit with a Java client, so that's client I use. Despite the fact that the last year I use a lot of JavaScript and TypeScript, I have used Java client for the Selenium scripts. Let's see how we can install this and run it. Okay, first of all, Timex API, as I told you, is a node module. You can download it by npm install. So let me show you in the browser. So here is the Timex API. Okay, with npm install, you can download it. And you can set it up. However, if you download with this way the Timex API, you have to configure by yourself the Elasticsearch and the Kibana, and to build all the ecosystem. So I don't recommend this way. GoDaddy and Mark Versel made our life very easy. They use Docker. So you can just clone a repo that you can find in GoDaddy, GitHub, timings Docker. And with Docker Compose app, you can spin up the 3 containers. Add the Elasticsearch, add the timings, and the Kibana. The YAML file is something like this. I'm going to show you. So here's the YAML file. Don't worry, I'm going to zoom when I have to show something to you important. So this is the YAML file. This is the Elasticsearch, the version 7.17, the Kibana, the version 7.17, and the timings, the version 2.0.2. Okay, and with Docker Compose app, you can spin up the containers. You should have your Linux machine or your Windows machine Docker, of course. Here for this presentation, I use the Docker window that I have spin up the 3 containers, timings, Kibana, Elasticsearch. If you go to Docker, you will view here the images from GoDaddy company. If you want to download it. So let's open these things here. So this is the timings API. This is the Elasticsearch that is up with the number 7.17. And this is the Kibana. So in timings API, if you go in menu, you can view some, it has been documented with Swagger. So you can view here all the commands, okay? And you can play with the endpoints to see what is going on, to read the description, to what is the response of the post requests, what you should view, etc. For example, here is the inject JavaScript that I told you that we inject into the WebDriver object. The Elasticsearch stores the data, and Kibana visualizes the data. I have to tell that already they have been set up some index patterns in Kibana by GoDaddy. Okay, and this is very interesting, and is by default in this Docker file. There are a lot of visualizations that I have already created. Data tables, vertical bars, lines, pies. Okay, I think there are around 40 metrics. There are around 40 visualizations that you can use to your dashboard. Also, I would like to say that the API works with older versions of Kibana and Elasticsearch too, not only with the 7, but with the 5, for example. So let's see this. And before show this, I have to say that from my Selenium scripts, I use a Java client. So I just added in the POM XML the corresponding dependency. I have a configuration file that I have set up some things about the timings. That's called timings client properties. Here you can view the API URL in which host we have the API. If you want the logs, what is the SLA? This is 6 seconds. That means that if your site is faster than 6 seconds, then the test will pass. If your page load time is above 6 seconds, the test will fail, the assertion. What kind of percentile is using? The default is 75th percentile. And if you assert a guest baseline or not, If I have here false, then it's going to assert against SLA. If I have true, it's going to assert against baseline. Of course, at the beginning, if you run the test from the scratch, it's going to assert with SLA because you are not going to have a historical baseline. Historical baseline is created as many tests you run. So, also I would like to say that because I use the page object pattern in Selenium, I have added the commands that, so the Timex API, the Timex client is a class that has a lot of methods. Okay, so you use these methods in order to get your metrics. So I have these methods into the constructor of my page objects, of my pages, and I wait until the page is completed. Why? Because the best time to inject JavaScript code is after a page has fully loaded. Because the JavaScript code is going to collect all the resources from the browser, so to calculate correctly the timestamps. So you have to wait until the page is completed. So in every page, in my Selenium scripts, I have this, inside the constructor, I have this get performance metrics. So I test the pages. Okay, here you can see one more screen about how it looks the API, the health system that says the information, the Kibana, the Elasticsearch, etc. So let's run it. I'm going to do Docker compose app in order to is the Elasticsearch, with green color is timings, and with yellow color is the Kibana. It's going to get only around 30 to 40 seconds. We are going to refresh the local host. Here we have the Timex API that, as I told you, is documented with Swagger. Is the older version, as I told you, the 5.6. So I want to show you that it can play, it's playable with all the versions of Kibana Elasticsearch. Here's the Kibana, and as you can see here is the dashboard that I told you. We have all the visualizations that I showed you before here in the dashboard. Of course, now we don't have data because we haven't run any test, but here are all the visualizations. Okay, list of page load time, SLA, navigation metrics, etc. So let's run one test. So we are going to test the set of minutes of testing. And let's agree that the SLA, the service level agreement, is 6 seconds. Okay, so if our page load time is above 6 seconds, the test will fail. If our page load time is below the 6 seconds, the test will pass. Okay, so let's go to our scripts. I'm going to the test. And I'm going to run it as the unit test. I'm going to zoom in some metrics to understand clearly. So the site is going to open. And let's see. We have here some metrics in the console. And we clap. First of all, here, we can view the inject code, the code that is injected, as I told you. Okay. We can view here the metrics that are coming for W3C Performance API, like domain lookup end, DOM interactive, load event start, request start, etc. All these metrics that are coming from W3C Performance API. But also is very interesting, okay, for images, for JS. As you can see, for each resource of the page, we have the entry time, the start time, the duration, the domain lookup end, everything, okay? The size of the file. So we have metrics for each resource of the page. CSS, etc. This is very interesting because if you found that a resource is very slow, then there's one issue there. So you can investigate what is the issue. Okay. And if we scroll down, we can view that the SLA is 6 seconds and the measure time is 6.3. That means that the measure time is above the SLA. That's why the test failed. Please check the baseline. The baseline is 0. Why? Because the test ran only once. We don't have historical baseline right now. We have to run more tests to create the historical baseline. So the measure time is 6.3. The SLA is 6. The assertion failed. And let's go to Kibana to see what is going on. This table, we can view that we have the name of the welcome page that we test, the page load time 6.3, and the baseline. Okay. This is the percentile. Of course, very nice table that we can see the vertical graph of pass and versus fail tests. Okay, so we had a fail test now. We have there are a lot of tables and graphs that you can check. Okay, the page load time, the baseline, and also there are some pies on the bottom, like who is the tester, which browser do you use, which site, which page, that this information are coming from your Selenium scripts. If you use baseline or not. Now we didn't use baseline because we assert against SLA. And if you assert against baseline or not, it's true this because we want to assert against baseline, but now because baseline is 0, we assert against SLA. When we are going to have baseline, then the system is going to do this. It's going to assert with a baseline. Let's run the test one more time. Again, it's going to open. Now, let's zoom. We have the measure time 5.7 and the SLA, and the baseline 6.3. What's going on now? Now, the system is going to assert with the baseline. Check that the baseline now is the previous measure time. Okay, because the algorithm took the 0 baseline from the previous test and the 6.3 measure time, that was the previous page load time, and generate the baseline, the 6.3. So now measure time is below the baseline, so the test passed, and also SLA also is below the SLA. That's 6 seconds. Of course, as I told you, right now we assert against the baseline. That's why the test passed. Let's go back to Kibana. We have welcome page. We test this page twice. You can see that we have a pass ratio and pass fail test. This is very important information, because when you run your Selenium tests all the time, you will understand what is the pass ratio or not. Here you can see some different numbers because it's the percentile, the 55th percentile of the actual page load time in baseline. For what? For this specific 2 pages. Okay. It's not the baseline, it's the percentile of the baseline. If you want to view the baseline, what's exactly the number, you are going to see this table. That's I'm going to show you in 1 minute. Test, and here's the table. Because the page load time previous was 6.3, the baseline was 0, the page load time now is 5.7, and the baseline is 6.3. Okay, so try to not be confused with the percentiles and the actual baseline. Okay, this table shows the percentiles, this table shows the actual values. And we have tested twice the welcome page. That's why this is orange. If we had more pages while our Selenium tests run, this pie is going to include all the other pages. We can go to another dashboard. We have the resources of the page, and we have metrics for each resource of the page, the duration, so you can understand easily what resource delays and where is the problem. I remember some years ago, we applied this to an insurance company. And we have noticed that some queries, they were delayed a lot. So we had the duration from these queries here. And we said, okay, so in this page, this query delays. So we think that there's an issue there, and we have to investigate it. So it's some hints to understand what is going on your site. I think it's very interesting. And also here, as you can see, we have we can go to here that says waterfall and click this link here. You can see something like that we can view here the page load time, the baseline, the threshold, the result, the first byte for each test, okay? Every time that you run a test. And as you can see, we have here a waterfall chart that provides a clear visualization of when each resource of the page is loaded, and also how long each stage of the loading process takes. Okay, for example, with green color is the first byte. Then we have the load event. Okay, and we set the milliseconds. For example, we have the DOM interactive, or if you use the visual complete, the visual complete. Now we don't use the visual complete here. Okay, as a measure time to our test. And also, if we this is very nice because you can see also the first view time, but also the content type, the request start, the duration, the TCP connection, the SSL time, the content downloaded, the bytes downloaded, etc. Okay, so we have some information also here. And you will see only the CSS resource here, okay, with the duration, etc. I'm going to show you a screen from a real project. This is an insurance company. I have these blue colors here because I don't want to show the name of the company. So as you can see here, the pie has a lot of pages because we use the page of the pattern. Here, as you can see, we have the pages. Check that the status menu page has page load time 2 seconds. That the main menu page has page load time 3 seconds. However, the task list page has page load time 40 seconds. That means that you have an issue in this page. So what you can do, you can run this API in your test, in your Selenium test, during the page object pattern, understand in which page you have issues, like this one, that the page load time now is 40 seconds. Then go to the resources of the specific page in the waterfall chart or in the duration chart that I show you. Filter the resources by duration or by load time and understand which resource causes the issue. It's a JS, it's a CSS, it's a query, it's something else. So you have some information about your site in general, about your pages, and it's very nice because of the page of the pattern, it's very nice because you can understand in which page you have the issue. Of course, there are a lot of things to say about the Timings API, okay? You can download it and you can play a little bit to understand it better. That's all for the Timings API. I'm sure that you have a lot of questions to ask. Before your questions, I'm pretty sure, because everyone asks this, that you are going to ask why the test the first time failed and the second time passed. Most people think that it's the cache, the client-side cache. This is wrong, of course, because it's not the client cache, because WebDriver generally loads page with empty cache. So it's not the cache. It could be various reasons. For example, a particular resource that's received from a temporary slow web server, or the test machine was CPU bound during JS parsing, or whatever. Okay, I always recommend running tests frequently, regularly, so you have more appropriate results. And looking at performance over time, percentiles, baselines, etc. So that's all from me. I don't know what do you think, Diego, and the other people?
Thank you, Petros. That was interesting because, at least from like personally to me, I was like, what was that? Like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, maybe a bit more. I was working in a company. I was in a platform team, and we were in charge of helping other teams to do testing. And I was checking the different, like libraries you have around to do performance. And I think back then already the most popular one was Lighthouse. And then you also had other ones. I was checking one from, I think it's the Wikimedia group, the browser commons. Was it like the I don't remember that one, the exact name. But what I'm trying to say is that I don't know how old this one from GoDaddy is, but it looks like the tool has evolved a lot, because having all these possibilities to store the metrics in Kibana and then get an idea of evolution over time, that is pretty cool. We have a few questions. So let's start with Constantina. Constantina says, "Hello, could you please let us know what is the metric you use for page load time?"
Okay, this is a nice question, to be honest. Okay, there's a much topic. This is a topic of much debate about this load time, but GoDaddy, according to the W3C navigation timing processing model, is used the load event start. The load event start is an event that triggered by the browser when a document and its resources finish loading. So if I'm going to share my screen to show you an example, let me go to the site. I have a site here. Okay, let me share my screen again. I think you can see my screen, I guess.
No, yeah. I can do.
Okay, so when you do performance dot timing, you can see?
Yes.
The screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, when you do performance timing, dot timing, as you can see here, we have the metrics that I talk about. Okay, the GoDaddy uses the load event start, this one. This is the page load time. It's an event triggered by the browser when a document and all the resources finish loading. But in general, I think it's a topic of much debate what you are going to use. But in W3C navigation timing process model, it's recommended that it's the load event start. So this is the page load time.
Okay, yeah, the one I was using a while ago, it was site speed.
Site speed. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me go see it.
No, but this one, the one you're using, seems more complete, because I mean, something cool that other tool had was the option to record a video, and the tool was able to analyze the video and get metrics from the video. So yeah. Thank you for the answer. If Constantina, if you have an additional question, please write it down, and then we will get to it. So there is one LinkedIn user that I could not see the name, but I can see it here. Is Foteini. Foteini is asking, at what point is the JavaScript injected and the result obtained?
Okay. As I told to my presentation, the best time to inject the JavaScript code is after a page has fully loaded. Okay, that's why in the page of the pattern, when I have the pages inside the constructor, I wait the page to be completed. Okay, or I wait for fully loaded page to be completed, and then I inject the JavaScript code. Okay. Of course, this is when we use the page of the page load time as measure time. If you use the visual complete time, the client gives you the opportunity to set up the mark by yourself. So in visual complete time, you will say by yourself, you are going to have an annotation, a mark, and you are going to say, now get the metrics. in visual compile time. Because suppose that you will see the screen and you will say, now I can view everything that I want in visual compile time. But in general, about the page compile time, the page load time, that is the appropriate metric, not like a personal perspective like the visual compile time. We inject JavaScript code when the page is fully completed. So I recommend to have in your constructors the end inside the page of the pattern. Of course, I haven't used it with screenplay pattern, so I don't know how can we do it there, but it's not so famous, the screenplay pattern. I remember
some say the opposite, but
I remember some years ago that I was at a Selenium conference, I think, in London, and someone presented the screenplay pattern for first time.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2016, I think. But
yeah, so the same user in LinkedIn that we cannot see here in our stream so far, but I can see that the name is the same person, Foteini. They're asking, where are the results saved? So I think that's Kibana, no?
The results saved are at Elasticsearch. Let me share my screen again. It's a common. So you can see here the times Docker, for example. If you go, you can see?
Yes.
Okay, if you go to Elasticsearch, inside data, inside nodes, here are the data that are saved by all this framework, okay, in the Elasticsearch.
Elasticsearch, yeah, I was wrong. Okay. I was saying Kibana. Okay.
Here in the data folder, inside nodes, here we have all this, as you can see, data. Okay, I have run some tests.
Yeah, but I guess they were asking, like, where can I see them? And I think you answered that along the presentation, that you could see these dashboards on the different.
In Kibana, yes, in the dashboard. Yeah. Yes. As I show you, there are a lot of visualizations. So you can now I have configured my dashboard that I show you in the demo with this visualization, but you can check whatever you want, and you can add them to your dashboard. After watching the dashboard, you can add these visualizations, or you can change them. Okay, you can click a visualization, you can change them. Okay, or you can create by your own visualizations if you want.
Got it. They're also asking which data is captured by inject code from the browser.
Okay, as I have already told you that all the resources of the page, and specifically from the W3C Performance API. I'm going to show it one more time. Again, share my screen. I have to leave my screen sharing. Here is the data that are captured by the API. So it captures data, and also it captures for every resource of the page. Okay. When you go to network, you will see here the information, okay, for the resource of the page. So we have this data, and we have the data from the W3C Performance API, that is W3C protocol, like the Selenium WebDriver. And we have this data. So as I told you one more time, the load event start is the page load time. So this is the measured value, okay?
Got it. So we're going to have the last two questions, because I didn't realize we're almost finishing the session. But
one more question.
So yeah, they're saying thank you. It was interesting. Also, Constantina, like, is happy with the answer you gave them. So the last two questions are: Luis is asking if we can check the Web Vitals metrics as well.
What do you mean about Web Vitals?
That's a good question. I don't know what they mean. Luis, if you can comment, then please clarify the question. And then I will share the other question in the meantime, which is from Dimitris. Do the documents stored in Elastic that are used to calculate the baseline, they persist after the start of the containers? I guess this is more like a management of your storage.
Yes.
Yeah, like
Yes.
this is more an infrastructure question, right? Like
infrastructure question. I have to say the story that when we had in the insurance company, because of course they didn't use when we set up this in this insurance company, the client, they didn't use, of course, the desktop Docker for desktop. They have Linux machines, things like that. So we had all the infra to set it up and the configuration. Usually, because in the Elasticsearch the data are there, they are not removed. Okay, the indexes are there. You have there the data stored to the Elasticsearch. So if you stop the containers and you can open again the containers, you will see the data there. But of course, so the containers, if you restart, the data are there. This is my answer. Of course, if you remove the Docker, the images, and things like that, you will lose your data. But if you want to stop your containers and to open it up again, the data will be in the Elasticsearch.
exactly. Yeah, we have reached the end of the hour. There was one more question, but it's from Georgios Romanos. So I guess you can reply on LinkedIn.
I'm going to call you. I'm going to call him.
Yeah, we can have a coffee later. Talk about it. But I just wanted to say thank you for the time. I have also like a few comments that people say thank you for the presentation. Great session. Many people said.
Thank you.
So yeah, good feedback. Thank you very much for being here, and
Thank you.
looking forward to see you in Valencia in a few months.
For sure.
For the conference as well. I'm gonna take you off screen. I'm just gonna share again a few things I was talking about in the beginning. But Petros, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see you in either online or in person in Valencia in a few weeks already. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. Thank you.
Maybe you can stay and then we can chat a bit after we end the stream.
Okay.
So yeah, folks, I just wanted to quickly recap for the ones who joined late. This pre-conference webinar series is happening because we're having a conference in a few months here in Valencia, 26th to 28th of March. Appium and Selenium together in a conference. We have a great agenda, a great set of speakers, a bunch of diverse topics, not only focused on testing, but also observability, synthetic monitoring. AI will be a big part of the conference, video game automation as well, accessibility, which is very important for the 2025 European law that is coming this year. And I also want to thank the review committee who helped us to review over 200 proposals. And that was the main source to have a great program that you can already see if you go to seleniumconf.com/agenda. Go have a look at it, and you will see that it's a very diverse set of topics and speakers, and you will find a very attractive reason to come to Valencia. You can register for the conference. Tickets are at $349 for the conference and at $649 for workshops as well. But if you use the discount code PRECONFWEBINAR, you will get a 10% discount code for that price. So have a look at it, and we expect to see you in a few weeks here. Today we had Petros, and we're going to have Karan next week. Here it is. Karan Kataria in 1 week is going to talk to us about dynamic locators on runtime. So it's an interesting approach about getting the locators for the website you're automating from a backend, and it's a very interesting approach I haven't really seen. Unfortunately, we couldn't have Karan in the conference, but they will be here in 1 week sharing the different interesting approach they use for automation. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please send us an email to organizers@seleniumconf.org. I'm looking forward to see you next week in the next webinar. Thank you. Have a nice weekend.